Hey guys, welcome back to the Crochet with Kelsey channel. Today is market day and we're going to the Melting Pot Market in Grandscape, which is in the DFW area. And this is the most expensive market that I've ever signed up for. I paid $222 just to be a vendor. So fingers crossed that it is a good day and we sell a lot of stuff. Just from seeing videos on social media of previous melting pot markets, it looks like this market will have pretty good traffic, so I'm super excited to see what the day holds. This is also the very first night market that I've ever done, and the hours are from 4 to 10, so it's about 1 o'clock now and we're about to get our car loaded up and head there. So we're not off to the greatest start because it just started raining right whenever we got set up, so I had to bring everything inside my tent. But it's still sunny out, so I'm hoping that it will go away soon. So it just stopped raining and here's my booth. So the market just actually officially started and we've already sold a good amount of smaller items, so I think it's going to be a good day. It's a lot cooler now that the rain's passed, and I got some lemonade from Coffee's Lemonade Company. It's peach and strawberry and it's really good. There are a few other crochet booths here, and from what it seems like only one of them is a drop shipper, so that's good. And I also realized that I'm selling much different stuff than the other booths are, so I have a good feeling about this market today. Two of the crochet booths they put right next to each other, and I feel really bad about that because whenever we showed up they asked me what I sold, and it seemed like they were trying to put people who sold similar things far enough apart, but I guess that wasn't the case for them. So we're now a little bit over an hour into the market, and so far so good. I've probably made a little bit over $100 right now, so I still have about $120 left to make before I meet the booth fee that I paid. But so far the mystery boxes have been very popular, along with the car mirror charms. So it's now almost 7 o'clock and we've definitely broken even. So we have about 3 more hours to make some more profit, and I think that this market is going pretty well so far, and I'm also hoping that there's an after dinner rush because there's a lot of restaurants in this area. And there's Nick. So we have about an hour left of the market, and overall I think it's gone really well. So I'll have to add up the total amount of sales that I had for the day minus the booth fee, but there's been a lot of traffic all day and I'm not even that mad about how expensive it was. So I'll check in with you guys tomorrow. So my market day is officially over, and overall I would say it was a pretty successful day, but I am gonna go through the pros and cons of the melting pot market in Grandscape. The pros were that there was a ton of foot traffic. There was a consistent flow of people throughout almost the entire market. It did slow down after I checked in with my last video around like 9 o'clock to 10, but I feel like that's pretty standard because that's, you know, the time that people are probably going home, especially if they have young kids and whatnot. But that was definitely a pro, and it was also set up very well. So whenever you got there, you stood in a line, and our load-in time was from 1:30 to 2. So we all lined up, and it was a first come, first serve basis of where you got to set up your tent. So the first person who got there got to pick any spot that they wanted. So that was kind of cool, but if I was in a later load-in group, I would have been a little sad about it. I also like that whenever they were taking me to my spot, they asked me what I sell, as if they were trying to not set me up next to other crochet vendors. And at some markets I've been to, they literally set me up right across from another crochet booth. So it's nice that they try to space out all the vendors. But then again, I saw a different crochet vendor right next to another crochet vendor. So maybe they kind of ran out of options near the end of when people were arriving, but it was kind of neat to get to pick my own spot, and it wasn't pre-assigned, so that was just something different. I'm an overthinker though, and once I picked my spot, I was thinking, oh my gosh, is this the right spot? Should I have chosen somewhere farther in? So how it's set up is it's basically a square of turf in the middle of a bunch of shops. So I thought that it would be best to have a set up on the outside, like not in the center, so that people could maybe see me from whenever they're walking around from restaurant to some of the other shops. And my hope was that they would see the back of my booth, and then it would make them want to come in. So I was pretty happy overall with the spot. I thought that it was a good decision, and if I did do this market again, I would probably try to get a similar spot, although you can pre-reserve the corner spots, but they're like $75 more, and I already paid like $222 for the booth fee, so no thank you. I also liked that they texted me throughout the event. They texted us when the event started. They texted us that we could go get water at this place whenever we needed it. And they also texted us when it was almost time to start packing up. So it was kind of nice that they were just communicating. They also had their own tent, and they had some staff members that were kind of just there for whatever the vendors needed. I guess if a vendor didn't have anyone working their booth with them and they needed to go to the bathroom, it looked like those people would kind of fill in. So overall, it was very well organized, and I did really enjoy it. But let's get into the cons. The number one con was definitely the price. I paid, like I said, $222 for this booth fee, and it's just really hard for me to think about how much inventory $222 is. That would be like 22 mystery boxes, which is a lot of work. Or like 4 to 8 larger plushies, which is also a lot of work. So I'm not exactly sure if it was totally worth it, but I will say I had a good time. Another con is that it was outdoors, and like with all outdoor events, you never know what the weather's gonna be like. And we did get a little bit of rain, so some of my stuff got a little wet, and I know a lot of vendors were having trouble trying to stuff everything underneath their tents. It's kind of just chaos mode whenever it rains, but it actually rained before the market even started, which I actually didn't realize until I looked at the time. So I don't know if I can actually consider that a con of the market. Plus, it's not like it's their fault, but it just rained, so it is what it is. But luckily, it only lasted for about 20 minutes. The other big con, and I know I said the price was the biggest con, but this is actually the biggest con, okay? So they make you park in a parking lot that's extremely crowded. So some people are having to park on the second, third, or fourth levels. Luckily, we were able to get a spot on the first floor, but you have to unload your car from the parking garage. Not only do you have to lug all your stuff through the parking lot, but then you have to maneuver your way through this Grandscape area, which is basically a hub of a bunch of different shops and restaurants. And from getting to the car to getting to where our booth was, it probably took about 7 minutes. So imagine like carrying stuff and pushing stuff on a dolly. It wasn't fun, and me and Nick were both dripping with sweat by the time we actually got set up. There definitely was a place where we could have unloaded our stuff and then pulled our cars into the parking garage and then taken our stuff from there, but that just wasn't an option. So yeah, it kind of just sucked setting up and packing up too, but luckily we got it down to 2 trips. So we only had to make the trek from the car to the booth 2 times whenever we were setting up and 2 times whenever we were packing up. So that's kind of the recap of how the market went, and now I'm sure you're wondering how much money I made and what items sold for me. Another nice thing about this market is that since we were in the earliest load-in group, we got set up by like 3 probably, and people are already walking around and shopping because it is such a busy area with a lot going on. So it was kind of nice that people were already kind of browsing my stuff while I was setting up, and it kind of gave me anxiety a little bit because I didn't want the customers to see the shambles of what my booth looks like before it's totally set up, because there's just stuff sprawled everywhere. But it was good to start selling stuff before the time it started, which was 4 o'clock. So I made my first sale probably around 3 or 3:15. And it was my little Snorlax that I've actually had for a couple of markets. And that pattern was from Crafted from Comfort. Her Pokemon did really well at this market. I sold a few of them, but it was just nice to have something that was a little bit of a more expensive item sold as the first product of the market. So we started off on a good foot, and I sold that little Snorlax for $25. I sold 2 chicken car mirror charms for $15 each. So that is a total of $30 for my chicken car mirror charms. I also sold 1 of my chick car mirror charms, and the difference between the chicken and the chick is that the chicken is white and it has a little crest thingy on its head, and the chick is yellow and orange. And I did show all of those in my last video, so if there's any confusion, be sure to go check that one out. I was kind of surprised at this market because I usually sell a ton of keychains, but I only sold 5, which that's fine. I sell them for $8, but out of all the variations that I have, I only sold 2 different types of variations of my keychains, and that was the chickens and the chicks. So I ended up selling 2 chicken keychains and 3 chick keychains. So already you can kind of see that chickens and chicks are in right now. I brought a total of 15 blind boxes with me, and I ended up selling 9 of them, which is the most that I've ever sold at a market. So I'm super happy. And again, if you watch my last video, you'll see that I kind of wanted to remarket my mystery boxes as blind boxes, because blind boxes are in right now. And I feel like just making that simple change drew people to them a little bit more. So I was really happy that I did it, and I'm really proud that I sold 9 of them. And I sold my mystery boxes for $10 each. For my $10 items that I sold a little mouse plushie, and I also sold one of my little mushroom pops. And I sold a total of 4 $12 items, which were 2 loaf cats and 2 possums. Another thing that surprised me about this market is that I only sold 2 claw machine plays. Usually the claw machine gets a ton of attention and people point at it and say that's cute, but usually more people than to play it, especially when kids are involved, because they beg their parents, "Mommy, can I play the claw machine?" And they usually say yes. Only 2 claw machine plays, but I sell the claw machine plays, which is play until you win, and you definitely go home with a little plushie for $7. I then sold my Espeon from Crafted for Comfort's pattern for $30. Then I sold my mini toothless from KP Crochet Creations pattern for $20. I sold a little puppy from Pocket Full of Posies pattern for $25. And then I don't know if any of y'all watched that video where Nick actually picked a project for me, but he wanted me to make an iguana and he picked out the colors and everything. And I don't know, it honestly like wasn't great. Like it wasn't my best work for sure, but somebody bought it. So I was super happy. So I sold it for $15. So whenever I sold that, I was like, see Nick, you know what you're doing. you're helping here. So that was just kind of cool. This girl that had a bunch of Bulbasaur tattoos came up and she bought not only my Bulbasaur snuggler from Pebble Crochet's pattern, but also my little Bulbasaur that I recently tested for No Way Jose Crochet. So those two together sold for $60. And it was so cute. She was so wholesome because she was walking down to the next booth and I see her just like pull them out of the bag and she's just smiling at them. I mean, little moments like that seriously make what I do so worth it. Even though it's a lot of work, just seeing a smile on someone's face because you create cute plushies is one of the best feelings that I've ever had. I then sold my Ampharos plushie from JM Adorable Plushies for $50. Another one of Crafted for Comfort's patterns, which was my Sableye, sold for $30. I sold my little Gengar from The Girl Who Knots for $20. My little Chikorita from Lazy Frog Co. for $17. My Pichu from Just Peachy Crochet for $40. My Mew from Squishy Stitch for $55. My Umbreon from Crafted for Comfort for $30. So as you can see, there was a huge Pokemon trend for some reason, which I'm kind of freaking out about because I have a Pokemon card convention that I'm going to be a vendor at next month. So I'm kind of stressing that almost all of my Pokemon sold because I was kind of banking on having some inventory left over for this one, but you know what? I'm happy because it sold and the goal is to sell it one way or another. So it's a good thing and a bad thing, but I'm just gonna be very busy for the next few weeks making only Pokemon. I then sold a Splash the Dolphin finger puppet, which I was happy about because I had a whole basket of finger puppets. I say a whole basket, but there was like 7 in there, but so many people looked at them and were like, oh, they're finger puppets, and then they picked them up and then they didn't buy them. So I was really happy that I at least sold one, and it was a Splash the Dolphin from the Crochet Carpenter. I then sold my big toothless snuggler from KP Crochet Creations, and this one was really sweet too because it was a couple and the guy said, oh, we're on our way to see How to Train Your Dragon right now. And she said she was gonna cuddle with it in the movie, so I thought that was sweet. And the very last thing that I sold of the day, I was so happy about. It was my little Leaf the Garden Sprite that I modded to be holding a star, and it was the purple one that she bought, and I sold that for $25. It's just really validating when somebody buys a plushie that's made with your own design, and I feel like that's a little bit rare for me just because I make like kind of weird little creatures and I know that they're not everybody's cup of tea, but I also don't always take my patterns that I create to my markets. But Leaf is a super quick one, so I decided to like make a couple during my market prep process. Like, I don't know, I've had those for a while, probably for like at least 3 months, but I don't know, she was just saying how cute it was and it was just making me really happy. So Little Leaf sold for $25. So I'm sure that you're wondering what the total amount of money I made was. I sold a total of $769 in plushies, and the booth fee was $222, and that was the early bird fee, by the way. So in total, I made $547 in profit, which isn't bad. It's not the best market that I've ever done, but it's not the worst. And I will say that I really enjoyed the atmosphere of this market. I enjoyed that it was a night market from 4 to 10 rather than one that starts early in the morning and ends like midday. But I can't decide if I would do it again or not. I actually enjoyed it so much though that I tried signing up for another one today. And I saw that without the early bird special prices, it's $275 to sign up. So I just can't justify that. So I might do this market again if they ever lower the prices or have some kind of deal, but it's just so expensive. And I get why, because they had really good foot traffic, but I mean, unless I made over $1,000, like it's really hard to justify just spending that much whenever that's like, you know, 6 to 8 larger plushies that I would have to sell in order to make that money back. So I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about it. I would love to know your thoughts on it in the comments. Is that a good market? Is that a bad market? I don't know. But as long as I walk away with money, I'm pretty happy, because at these events you get to network with people. You know, a lot of people were asking me if I do custom orders. Will they hit me up? Who knows? But it's just nice to get your business name out there, and every person that bought a plushie, we put a little card in there, so maybe they'll be a repeat buyer, maybe they'll want custom orders. But that is the market recap for you. So let me know, if you were me, if you would consider doing this market again. I'm kind of thinking that it might not be worth it, and I really just want to find a good market that has a ton of foot traffic, that's not as expensive. I just feel like these event coordinators think that they can jack up the prices of everything because we are in a big city. And it's funny because the 2-day Pokemon card convention that I'm doing next month was only $150 for 2 days. So I'm like, I feel like this other market is kind of taking advantage of vendors a little bit. So yeah, I probably won't be doing another one of these, at least for the rest of the year, just because it is so expensive and I already have a few other things lined up. But I wanted to thank you guys for watching this video. Until next time, I will be crocheting so many Pokemon to get ready for my event in July. I appreciate your support. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.